Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the new movie Jurassic World Rebirth. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider liking and subscribing. That way, maybe one day in the future when they remake dinosaurs, I can be one of the first to visit the park. This movie is directed by Gareth Edwards, whose most notable films are Rogue One, The Creator, and Godzilla. Instead of talking about the 6 things that make a movie great, I'm just going to share my spoiler-free thoughts on the film. So at this point in society, dinosaurs are dying out, but they are a normal day of everyday life. But most dinosaurs that are surviving live pretty close to the equator. Well, a rich investor named Martin Krebs decides to reach out to Zora to help protect and guide him as he and a crew take an illegal venture to an area near the equator where they want to get samples from dinosaurs that provide life-saving abilities to humankind. But once they get down there, they find out that Martin's not been very forthcoming with them, and they find out that the island they are visiting is the abandoned facility of where they tried to do all these mishmashing of dinosaurs and ended up with just straight up monsters. They happen to run into a family who's stranded on a boat and inadvertently comes with them on this venture, and that's the premise of the movie. Now, as far as the premise goes, it's at least different than what we've seen over and over again, but on screen it did not come across very well at all. But before I get ahead of myself here, I want to let you guys know something. The premise for this movie starts at the research facility where they are doing this genetic modification on dinosaurs to create new genetic species, right? And a freaking abandoned Snickers bar wrapper destroys the security at this facility and is the premise for the whole movie. But the sad part is that wasn't the only moment in this movie where it was like, this movie feels like a parody. For example, the dad of the family hurts his leg really badly and can barely walk. But the movie picks and chooses when he actually is injured, because there are multiple scenes where he is running just fine and then he goes right back to being, oh, my leg. Or there was another area when they just got into the island where they're about to go through a fence that has these gaps of like at least 4 feet, and Zora takes it upon herself to clip one of the lines completely unnecessarily for them to crawl through. Or a moment when a side character is literally about to die and there's absolutely no reason why he would survive, and the movie doesn't explain it at all. It just flashes to the next scene and they're alive. Like, I cannot stress enough that this movie felt like a parody of itself because it was that laughably bad. Jurassic Park happens to be one of my dad's favorite movies, so I've grown up watching all the Jurassic Park movies and the Jurassic World movies, and it just seems like the more movies they make, the worse it gets. I didn't have very high hopes for this movie going into it, but this was worse than expected. Once they get to the island, the research team is separated from the family that they just got done saving, and the movie violently whips back and forth between the family's experience on the island and the research team's experience on the island, and it is both jarring and boring. In fact, at least the first quarter of this movie was an absolute snooze fest. And then when you arrived at the meat and potatoes of the movie, you found out that your plate was empty. There was extremely shallow character development. You didn't care about any of the characters. The character interactions seemed very cheesy and shallow. It also didn't feel like there was a main character in this movie at all. Nobody's acting performance in this movie is anything to write home about, and it just was not very entertaining. Now you may say, well, Peter, we don't go to watch these movies to see the people. We want to see the dinosaurs. How were they? Well, they were there for a very short period of time. For the movie's premise being based on these being the genetic mashup freak dinosaurs, they weren't all that freaky, except for the last one, which you see for like a total of 20 seconds maybe. Now, there were a couple moments with the dinosaurs that were okay, but it was nothing great and not as good as anything we've seen before. Other than all that, the basic stats of this movie is that it's 2 hours and 13 minutes long. It's got a mild to moderate bit of action and violence and profanity and quite a few perilous moments. This movie was an absolute grind to make it all the way through. I hated nearly every minute of it, and in my opinion, it easily is the worst Jurassic World or Park movie that we've seen so far. So congrats to Scarlett Johansson for getting the bag, but what's the cost? At least for the audience, it was a really crappy Jurassic World movie. So with all that in mind, I have to give Jurassic World Rebirth a 1 out of 10. I thought this movie was absolutely horrific from start to finish, with only a couple moments that I found entertaining or interesting at all. Everything else was an absolute dumpster fire and a waste of my time. So with all that in mind, this movie is absolutely not worth going to see in theaters at all. Thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Jurassic World Rebirth, I feel pretty bad that you spent your money on that. But please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your love and support, and I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one.